and welcome to episode 61 of Girlfriends Knitting. My name is Carolyn, and I go by Ca Shirley on any social media. My new thing is Instagram, so you can check me out there on Instagram. And Amy wanted me to tell those of you who added her as a friend on Instagram, thank you very much. She hasn't posted a whole lot yet, but she's just learning. I want to start with some thank yous today. First of all, I want to say a huge thank you. I've got to pull my thank yous out over here. To the lovely Ginger, who is a free spirit on Ravelry. She is the proprietor of Absolute Wonder, as in Absolute Wonder bags. And she sent me this lovely little spinning bag. At least that's what I'm using it for. You can see there's fiber like hanging all over it because I am using it as a spinning bag. I will show you all the goodies that are in it later. But this pink is, come on, awesome. But Ginger also sent you one. And y'all are very lucky because Amy saw this and almost snatched it up because she thought it was so cute. Look at the frogs and the pigs and the horses and the cows and the ducks. Adorable. And it's got this cute red plaid. It's just adorable. So again, this is Absolute Wonder. I thought she had her tag on there somewhere. Anyway, Absolute Wonder bags. And this is a podcast giveaway. This is going to actually be a giveaway for the Scarlett Bennett cow. So I will talk more about that later. Another giveaway that I'm going to give away just at some random point, also from Ginger, is some keychains. So they're both owls because I'm in love with owls. There's one on white and one on blue, which I think is adorable. And I don't have my keys handy, but I have one that's a sheep. So cute. So I am going to give these away at some point for something as well. I just haven't decided yet. So those are some of my sweet giveaways. Let me show you her card. So Absolute Wonder on Etsy. So check her out. She's got awesome stuff. And I'll tell you more about some other things, podcast prizes in a little while. This crazy. I have like so much. I'm having to split this stuff up into 3 different shows, I think. That's what happens when you don't podcast for almost 3 weeks now. Another huge thank you is, yes, I can show you this because the pattern's on the back. From Awesome Rachel, who is Tiny Geek Crafter, the Black Mamba bracelet. I am in love with this. Watch her podcast. I think the joint episode with her and Silly Frou. So they did, Silly Frou is the Sassy Pants knitter. They did a joint episode, and I think Rachel debuted it there. And so I had donated a set of stitch markers for the Tour de Fleece for Knit Me Sassy team. And so she is just so sweet, and she kind of paid it forward by sending, or paid it back. I don't know. But anyway, she returned the awesomeness with this awesome pattern, which I cannot wait to knit. So that will definitely be something that y'all will be seeing me knit soon. And I think I heard rumors that they may even do a knit-along with that bracelet, which I will so be in on. And so if I do a knit-along, again, it won't be in my group, it'll be in their groups. But if they do a knit-along and I'm participating, you will definitely hear about it. Last, but certainly not least, the lovely LK Memphis, who is Loelle. She and I were supposed to be roomies at SSK. Various craziness happened, and that did not end up happening. But we did end up riding back together and had a fabulous car ride home. And remember, I had knit her the cute little gnome who everybody has said I have to publish that pattern. So that'll be coming out in the next week or two. She gave me a sheepy mug. Is that not adorable? So it's Herty. Beautiful things with beautiful intention. And I haven't had a chance to use it yet because I had to keep it all nice and pretty for y'all. An organic cotton washcloth. I know. She made one for Amy too, but I just have my gorgeous pink one with me. So I had to show y'all that. So thank you, Lowell. I keep saying her name wrong. It's Lowell. Thank you so, so much. I appreciate it so much. Love it. Love it. So let's talk about some finished objects because I have a whole list. Because that's what happens when you haven't recorded in 3 weeks. First of all, Tour de Fleece. I was in the Knit Me Sassy group, and I was not a very good team member. I was very good for the first half, and then I trickled off. But I got some awesome finished objects for spinning, including one that you can win in the Scarlett Bennett Knit Along. So let me show you the more recent ones. This one doesn't look all that great, but it looks so much better than it used to. So this is a, what did I write down? 120 yards. It's a merino, blue and white. It's a light blue and white. Sport weight. And this is from some merino little roving balls that I got from Hilltop Fiber in a Learn to Spin kit with a spindle. Highly recommend their Learn to Spin kits. They give you all different kinds of fiber in different kinds of preps. So you had the little roving balls, you had a little tiny braid, you had a bat, you had just some like carded fiber. It was all different kinds of preps as well as different animal breeds as well, sheep breeds. So this is another finished object for Tour de Fleece. Let me tell you a little bit more about it. When I first got it, I was just learning how to spin. Amy and I both were. And so I got it for her, and then I ended up spinning it. And it was horrible. Horrible. Just an absolute mess. And so one of my goals for Tour de Fleece was to fix it, so to speak. So I took it back out as best I could, separated it back out some, and respun it. And so that's why it's not perfect, is because even though I did spin it recently, it was fixing a really bad old yarn that I wanted to fix. So I'm not going to go back and fix all of them. As a matter of fact, I don't want to even fix all of them. There is the abalone from Unwind Yarn Company that looks awesome as a thick and thin. I think will make a gorgeous cowl. And then I might have bought some more at SSK, so then I can have some that is gorgeous and that I would like. Not that I don't like that, but I mean that's more up to where I am right now. So then the next thing I spun, I'm so proud of. Let me tell you what it is first, and then I'll show you. So this is Fiber Nymph Dye Works. Lovely Lisa, Fiber Nymph. BFL Tussa Silk Winter Solstice Sunrise. Y'all, if you are a spinner and you have not tried BFL Tussa Silk, awesome. Look at this lusciousness. And I brought it to SSK to help me take pictures, because you see that yellow on the screen? That's not it. In real life, it's golden. It's not bright yellow. And so that's one of the things that I took a class in at SSK on photography, and I'll tell you more about that. And so I'll show some pictures at the end from SSK, and some of them will be of this fiber yarn, hand spun, that is a little bit more true to life with color. I also have been learning so much that I want to share with y'all. And so I've decided I'm going to start doing some tutorials of various things that I am allowed to share. And one of them is I'm going to show you how to adjust the color balance on your computer. I'm going to do a tutorial on that so that you can see the colors better. So like for example, maybe I have fixed my lighting, like let's pretend, right, that I fixed my lighting to where my screen is showing you the right colors. But you're not seeing them the same way as I do because you have a different monitor. So you can adjust your color balance and get a little bit closer to what I'm seeing on my monitor. So sometimes when you're looking at stuff on Etsy or you're looking at stuff online, yarn and fiber online, they may have been very careful to photograph it correctly and to put it correctly and to make sure that their monitor is showing it correctly. But if your monitor is not set correctly, it's still not going to show up. And that's one of the things I learned. That was one of the big aha moments for me. So I'm going to do a tutorial. Gail basically just said, you can do this. So I don't feel like I'm like stealing from her by showing you step by step on the computer. Here's where you click, here's where you click, kind of thing. So I'm going to try and do that at some point and put that up for you. So those are my 2 finished objects. Oh, I forgot to tell you, the Fiber Nymph is 250 yards of a 2-ply. I literally took the braid and split it down the middle, spun straight from this half onto one bobbin, spun straight from this half onto another bobbin, and then plied the 2 together. So it is a very traditional 2-ply. This, same thing. I weighed out half and half of the horribleness that I had created, and fixed half on one bobbin, fixed half on the other, and then plied it together. So that is my spinning. I have a bag that I carried all this junk into my office in, so I'm tossing it back down in there after I talk to you about it. So hopefully my desk, which is covered at the moment, will get a little bit clearer before we're done. So, SSK is the big thing that I have to talk about. And I have so much that there's no way I can talk about it in one episode without an episode being like 2 hours long. So I'm going to split it up into chunks. But one of the main things I want to talk about is one of the first things that happened at SSK was the awesome, amazing Susan Purple Haze of Desert Vista Dye Works passed out our Scarlett Bennett cowl packages. Yay! I heard recently on the boards that she does have a few left. I don't know if that's still true because I did not check today. But a few days ago, she did still have a few left. The official start is not until August 1st. So you do still have a whole week to contact her and see if she has any more. Go to her website, Desert Vista Dye Works, and check and see if she has any more if you want to participate. She has some amazing colorways available that are available for anybody. It doesn't matter if you went to SSK or not. This is what we got at SSK. Now, I'm not sure what your package is going to look like if you didn't go to SSK. It may be the same. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. And then on the front of the pattern, because we got enough information to get started, because remember we said there was going to be a soft start when she handed stuff out. So you could go ahead and wind it up and jump to it. But the official start is August 1st. And I have not cast mine on yet. For 2 reasons that I'll talk about in a second. But we did get enough information on the back to tell us how to get started. And then we got the Ravelry pattern later that day. But, and I'm not going to show you everything, but she had a whole list of various little items in the bag that would be in an adult summer camp. So like, for example, a lunch bag, a candle, notebook and pencil, bug jar. Because if you're at a summer camp, you're going to be collecting lightning bugs. At least you would if you were me. So what I am going to show you is, first of all, Wolf Farms, who is also one of the podcasts doing the cow. There's several of us, and I'll tell you all of them in a second. But Wolf Farms, that's Dawn and James, put in Passion Flower. It is a candle, and it smells amazing. Love me some Wolf Farms. Y'all know I love some Wolf Farms. So that was one of the goodies. There were some stitch markers. Hold on, let me see if she says. She didn't say, so I'm guessing she made them. Awesome stitch markers. So that you actually, don't need to go find stitch markers for this. They were included. And then I loved this. And it had a little bit of fiber goodness in it. And it was just a little bug jar. It's adorable. Adorable. Then, of course, she had literally a suitcase full of this yarn. And you could pick, because there's a slight variation in the different skeins. And so you could pick. I picked one that was more of a wheat color. There were some that were a lot more golden. But I picked one that was more of a wheat. Yeah, that's, if you take the yellow out just a little bit. And more than likely, I probably shouldn't say this on the podcast because she watches, but more than likely Mama's going to end up with this shawl because this is so her colors. And it looks good. Like, see, this is going to wash me out. But I want to knit this really, really bad. So more than likely it's going to end up as a gift for someone whose coloring will look awesome in it. I have a Scarlett Bennett Cowl thread up, and I'll put a finished object thread up, but let me go ahead and give you some details. First of all, the cowl starts now. Official start date August 1st. Runs through September 30th. So as long as you have your finished object posted by September 30th, you're golden. Prizes include the amazing Java Jenny bag. So it's Kitchen Counter Crafter. And it's got cupcakes and then chocolate polka dots, which I love. So that's prize 1. Prize 2, Absolute Wonder. Okay, so we've got 2 bags. We also have the yarn, which I don't have handy, that was donated by Sally from Idaho. She donated some merino silk pinkish fiber, but it's a real dark wine kind of pink. It's not hot pink or anything, if you haven't seen it on the podcast previously. I spun it up into a beautiful worsted weight yarn, and then I'm going to give you that as a kit with my Crisscross Cuffies pattern. So, of course, you don't have to knit the pattern with that yarn, but it would look good if you did, if you chose to. So then that is the 3rd prize for that. And so those are going to be the 3 prizes for the knit along. I will add more if we get tons of people participating. There are several places that you can enter your project. Wolf Farms is also doing the cowl, so you can enter it there as well. Also, Savvy Girls podcast, they're doing the knit along. And then Girlfriends Knitting. So those 3 podcasts are doing the knit along. The designer, and of course I believe she's going to have a thread as well, is Knit by Bit Designs. That's Penny. And then, of course, Susan, which is Desert Vista Dye Works, who did the yarn. So those 5 places, you can look at all 5 of those places to find places to possibly enter your shawl. And again, I haven't double checked on Susan and Penny, because one's the designer, one's the yarn. So they may be having everybody enter their stuff on our site. I'm not sure, but definitely there's at least 3 places where you can enter your finished project to win some awesome prizes. So this is going to get cast on this weekend. The reason it didn't get cast on this past weekend while I was at SSK was because, first of all, like someone pointed out to me, you're going to knit lace while trying to talk. Secondly, and I hope this isn't giving away too much, it's a bottom-up shawl, which meant you had to cast on a bazillion stitches. There was no way I was going to keep an accurate count of that while everything was going on at SSK. So I'm going to wait until this weekend when there's not a lot going on and I have time to just sit and relax and really focus. So it's going to get cast on this weekend. But again, you can cast it on at any point, at any time. Some of you may have already done so. So let me put this away. Oh, and I got to meet Susan, of course, because she was there giving out the things, and she is sweet and adorable. So excited to meet her. Some other finished objects. Camp Loopy 2! All I have to do is weave in 2 ends. This is all of the yarn I had left. Because I got to SSK and had an opportunity to sign up late but get in on Susan B. Anderson's Baby Cardi class. But you had to have some worsted weight yarn. And the market wasn't until the last day. Well, the only worsted weight yarn I had on me was this. But thankfully, Camp Loopy requires that you use 500 yards. So, I had 610. So I wound off 100 yards to make a teeny tiny wee little baby cardi, and then still have 510 left for this. And then I was able to get this finished and done. Very fun knit until you get to the end. When you get to the end, it becomes an absolute slog. And you have to have very, very long cables. Like I had to actually, while I was at SSK, specially order some 60-inch Haya cables and a connector. I ended up making the cable 104, because I connected the 60 to my 24. So it was 104 inches long, the cable, in order to not be having to do this every 5 seconds. I mean, it got to the point knitting it at SSK where my 40-inch cable, I couldn't keep going. I couldn't increase any further. And then I knew I had to actually, well, you can just bind off, but I wanted to do a little ruffled edge. And so you have to double the stitches in order to get that ruffled edge. There was no way, I couldn't even finish with the stitches I had on there. So, yeah, that's what I did. This is out of Malabrigo worsted in Sotobosk. It's a pink and brown, which I adore. And about 6 rounds before I finished, I increased every stitch. May have increased every other. Yeah, I increased every other stitch. Because again, I was just running out of room on cables. So I increased every other stitch by just doing front and back, knit front and back, which makes that last part ruffle out. Then I knit 4 more rounds and bound off. And was praying desperately that I would have, and so look, there's one, it's not even 2 yards left. So this is about 508 yards. It's awesome, and I love it. I love it. If I knit it again, I'd probably knit it out of a DK weight instead of a worsted and make it much bigger. Because again, the pattern's fun, but it does actually calculate it out at one point that I had 650 stitches on my needle. That's a lot. That is a lot. So, Camp Loopy 2! Next week, I get to cast on for Camp Loopy 3! And I've picked out my pattern, and I've bought my yarn, and my yarn has come in, and it's some more Desert Vista Dye Works, because I'm in love with Susan. And I can't wait to show you all about that. So that is what I got done. My other finished object is this little tiny wee baby cardigan. I mean, like, wee. See, because it actually, that's not even closed. It closed this. It's adorable. And of course, you know, I had to make it short sleeves. A, because I didn't want to make long sleeves. And B, because I didn't have that much yarn. I only had a limited amount. Awesome. And, wait for it. Yeah, you might be waiting for it. I've got to find it. Okay, I found it. I'm going to talk more about this in a minute, too. Dome Acres had some amazing wooden buttons. How cute is that? Now, I'm not going to leave it like this because that's kind of shocking. I'm actually going to tint it pink. So when I get all the ends woven in and I get the button on, I'll show y'all again because it'll be worth seeing again because it's going to be that cute. I know! There's no baby to give this to. I just knit it because it's adorable. Just saying. It's adorable. And I got to meet Susan. Okay. Lots of Susans. The whole weekend was about the Susans. Because I also hung out with Rista1313, who is Susan. I have too much to talk about. Okay, so let's jump into some whips. Before I got to SSK, I had the brilliant idea that I was going to wear my Gemini. Looks a little different, perhaps. Like maybe there's no ripping at the edge of the sleeves. You know why? Because this thing has been ripped out and reknit. Notice it's a little bit smaller because it now actually fits. So, Amy Herzog talks about how you are not to measure around the fullest part of your bust. You are to measure your torso, which is like up here. You can use your bra band too. I mean, for me, those are very similar measurements. Turns out, I've been knitting 42s. I should be knitting more like 39s, 38s. Because up here, that's what I am. 40 at the outset, depending on the ease. This, because it stretches so much, she says in the pattern, to knit this size that's 4 inches smaller than your actual bust measurement. So my actual bust measurement is 38. That means I need to do wrong direction, 34. So I knit the 34, which was the medium. Never wear a medium ever in anything. As you can tell, it fits. And I have gauge. It's not like my gauge is crazy. No, it fits. But I now have, all this. You see this all right here? That was me trying to make the new top match the old bottom because I thought, well, I won't reknit the old bottom. I'll just take it off. Cut and take them apart, put both on waste yarn, reknit the top, just attach it to the bottom. It didn't work. And since it is just a whole big thing of stocking knit, this might hurt some people's feelings, but I am going to rip it out. I'm going to rip it back to right where I took off the sleeves, where I separated the sleeves. And then just knit stocking knit the rest of the way down. There are some increases for your hips, which I'm definitely going to need, because there is nothing on me that's a 34. And then there you go. I'll have me a Gemini. And I think I'm going to literally, when I pick up, do one round of knit and then immediately do the ribbing, because I didn't like how long the sleeve was last time. But I figure I'm basically reknitting it using the same yarn, which I actually re-skeined, washed, soaked, hung up to dry so they would kind of pull out all the crinks. And I'm going to do that again with the bottom. And I'm doing that, A, because I don't want to knit with that crinked up yarn because it won't look as good in my opinion. And reknitting it, the time it's going to take to reknit it, will be so much more worth it because then I'll wear it. Whereas right now, I've worn it twice and both times I was like, I really like it, but it doesn't fit at all. So it's going to be worth it in the long run. So that was one of the things that I was doing. Another thing that I've been doing was my Rockstar socks. This was some of the knitting I did at SSK. To be honest, the blanket and the baby cardi were most of what I knit on at SSK. But I did get past where I'm doing the afterthought heel. So, I've made progress. And I've got lots of socks on the needles right now because, of course, I was working on this sock at a family function at Amy's family, and her dad started picking on me that I have knit socks for everybody but him. I didn't think he'd want any, but obviously he does. And hey, if the man wants knitted socks, he's knit worthy. He's very, very good to me. So he's getting some knit socks. Amy picked out the yarn. It is a royal blue, an olive green, a white, and there's also a mint green. Like the two greens are not the same green. Yeah, can you see that? There's an olive and then a mint. And then toe up with a slip stitch heel. I'm finishing off the ribbing. I've got like 3 more rounds and this sock's done. And that's literally like a whole bunch of days in the doctor's office with regular routine checkups and other miscellaneous doctor-y stuff. Sitting there knitting. So that got quite a bit done. Last. And this is one of the reasons that I started thinking that you needed some tutorials. This is Lisette. And I've showed it to you before, but I was very, very short distance into the back. But I now have a finished back. And it's drapey and airy, and, you know, of course I'm going to wear it with something underneath. I mean, you can see my bookshelves through it. But I had intended that to begin with. So when I was checking out the fabric, I knew in my head this was going to be a layering piece in the summer over a tank top or something. So the entire back is done. And it's even blocked. It's just been folded up in my bag. Then, there's just no way to show you this without giving away part of the pattern, so I apologize. I've knit the bottom of the front, and it's all crinkled up because it's not blocked and it's not been folded up in my bag. And it has to go on waste yarn until you attach it to the top part of the front. So I'm really making some progress. So as soon as the top part of the front is done, you knit some little cap sleeves and seam everything up. So it's a little bit ways away from being done, but not a lot. I am using Elizabeth Lavold Empathy in the Egyptian blue colorway. And I have plenty left. I have 4 more balls left. And then I have 2 more balls. One is attached to each of the tops. So I may be destashing some Egyptian blue Empathy when I get done with this. Just FYI. But what I want to talk about, and I'm going to do a video tutorial and hopefully even insert it here, because that's my thought with the video tutorials, is I'm going to put them in the podcast when I'm talking about that thing. Because they're going to be very short, like 2 to 5 minutes. But then I'm also going to have a link on the website where the tutorials are all in one place, separated out from the episode where I showed them, so that you can just go look at the tutorials, or you can see them, you know, as we're going along in the podcast. So the first tutorial that I'm going to do is how to do a long tail provisional cast on. So hopefully I'm going to insert that now. Hi, and welcome to my tutorial for a long tail cast on. This is actually going to be a provisional long tail cast on, so it can be used as a provisional cast on. It can also be used just as your regular long tail cast on, except for the fact that at the end of the project you would of course have to come back and bind off. Alright, so let's get started. So I've got 2 colors of yarn here. I'm going to use this peach as the main color for my project, and I'm going to use this red as my waste yarn. So I'm going to put it off camera because we don't need but just a little bit of it. I'm then going to take the ends of the 2 yarns and hold them together then just make your traditional slip knot. So we make a loop, pull it through so that we have a slip knot. Notice both of those yarns are held together in making that slip knot. What's important to know is that this slip knot is not going to be one of the stitches in your project. So when you're counting how many stitches you've cast on, don't count the slip knot. We're going to just let it hang later. Then we have our 2 colors of yarn. And here it's important to know which yarn goes where. We want our working yarn to go over our finger, and we want our waste yarn to go over our thumb. So again, if you hold the yarn up and you put your finger and thumb through, grab at the bottom and sort of make a slingshot, you now are set up. Again, make sure that waste yarn, that's why I made it red so you can really see it. That waste yarn should be the one over your thumb. Now for those of you who know how to do a long tail cast on, this part you already know how to do because you are literally going to just cast on now. So we go under on the thumb, over on the finger, through the loop, let go, and tighten. So notice we have our original slip knot, plus we now have 1 stitch. Notice the stitch on the needle is the color of our working yarn. The red is underneath. So let's do that again. Under the yarn on the thumb, over the yarn from the finger, through the loop, I let go with my thumb, and tighten. So now we have 2 stitches on the needle. Alright, I'm just going to work a few now. This is going to seem very nice and smooth, and that comes just from years of practice. The more you practice, the more it'll be nice and smooth as well. So now I've cast on quite a few stitches. This one is our slip knot from the beginning, so we're not going to count it. And then we have 3, 6, 7, 8. So I've cast on 8 stitches. What's really important to notice is that the live stitches are in our working peach yarn, and that red yarn is there at the bottom. So then if we wanted to begin working on this project, we could simply flip it around. We could cut our waste yarn and remove it completely, and then pick up our working yarn and begin knitting across. When we get to the slip knot, we can just drop it off the needle and continue working back and forth. When we get to the end of our project, we can come through, see each of these little bumps. Each of these little bumps is the end of our live stitch. We can run our needle through those live bumps, removing our red waste yarn. We can either then pick up those stitches or use that for continuing on with the project as directed. I hope this is helpful.
All right, I hope that was helpful. And it is what I have been using for this. And I'm going to show you 2 of the things I got at the SSK Market because they're what I'm using for this project right now. Have you seen these on another podcast, perhaps? So I was one of the first people in the market because when I got to the market from breakfast, people were kind of lining up already and sitting down and knitting while we were waiting for it to open. And so I thought, I'll sit down and wait. So I did, and was able to get one of Amy Beth's summer knit along bags. I was also able to hit up the Erin Lane booth and get a pattern keeper, which has, I'm not going to show you a whole lot of it, has the Lisette in it. And I love it because it's bras. I love it. So what I think is cool about the pattern keeper is, of course, as you saw, I had it closed like this. Or you open it up, flip it around the other way, and open it. How cool is that? So that is here in my Fat Squirrel Fibers bag, which I love. I love the canvas. Can you hear? Love it. Love it. So that's one of the things. Oh, there's something else that's hanging on the end. Knit Girl's tape measure. Just one of the many amazing things in the goodie bag. Okay, so let's talk about some SSK. My favorite part was the people. And I can't even begin to go through and name all the people I sat and visited with, met for the first time, hung out with, went to dinner with. Amy Beth. Four Kitties Have I. Blogs Carla. There's a few other you that I'm not naming because I'm trying to, let you go on the down low there. But I love all of you 5 ladies that I went to dinner with. That's all I'm going to say about that. I had an absolutely terrible time remembering people's names. It became the joke of the people that I've been visiting with that I couldn't remember anybody's name. Daniela, Caffeinated Gert, and Rista 1313 season, kept coming up to me going, "Hi, I'm Daniela." Because it got bad, people. I was like, there will be people bad-mouthing me after this retreat, and it's deserved. It was bad. We got an amazing goodie bag, which I'm going to show you. Maybe. Ta-da! It's a very heavy-duty, well-made messenger bag with SSK on it. Now, it's not my taste. I don't like messenger bags at all. But that's not Laura and Leslie's fault. I mean, this is a very awesome bag, and there are many people who love messenger bags, and this will be perfect for them. But I also don't want it to go to waste because, there was a lot of thought and effort put into this bag. So just because it's not a me thing doesn't mean that somebody shouldn't benefit from it. So I'm going to open a thread in the group, and if anybody wants the messenger bag, put your name in the hat in the group, and I will send it to somebody. Because, and if nobody wants it, then I'll do something else with it. But it needs a loving home because it is an awesome bag. So, in that bag, one of the things that was one of my absolute favorite things, that nobody's getting these from me. SSK sock blockers. I don't know if you can see that they're etched. There you go. They're etched. And they're women's medium. Thank you, Lauren Leslie. I've got so much stuff sitting around here. It's crazy. So I got fiber. Don't blink. Doctor Who fans out there? Are you kidding me? Into the World. Don't blink. What? And then knowing that Another Crafty Girl was going to be vending, and the amazing Knit Psycho having knit me a hitchhiker out of Another Crafty Girl, and me falling in love and saying, I have to have some of this yarn. I was like, that's on top of my list. That and Highland Hem, they were up there. But then I didn't have to buy any, because we got some in the bag. Not that I'm not going to buy any, it's just, come on, I got some. So I was super, super, super excited about that. I'm going through my list of all the various things I wanted to talk to you about. Oh, J.C. Boggs. Ply magazine. Yes, ma'am. Jordana Page. Mila hat. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And then, I'm not going to show you these. I'm just going to hold up this Ziploc bag. It's a gallon Ziploc bag. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Buttons. And Lolo bars. And discount codes. And yarn samples. And... what? Craziness. And then... I decided that I am going to split up my purchases into a bunch of different things. And so what I'm going to talk about today are some of my little items. So one of the first things, actually the first thing I bought was the Fat Squirrel Fiber bag. I also went to Erin Lane And the bag that I had Mr. Fred's socks in, it was a green and blue bag, and it's now hidden under all this stuff. It came in a package with this Erin Lane bag and this monster Erin Lane bag. So I got those because it was 3 in a thing for sale, and I have an obsession with bags lately. And I know how to sew. But I do. I have an obsession with bags. Then I got from Unwind Yarn Company a orifice threader for my spinning wheel, which that bead is just stunning. Can you see it? It's black and white and that turquoise. I got way too many cute, adorable little buttons from No Makers. Hearts and flowers and a bow. I got a TARDIS, yes ma'am, from Tangerine Designs. I got some of her tags. Yep, I made it. From Tangerine Designs. Then some of my, that I'm so excited about, Gelby Little Sheep Stitch Markers. Look at the detail on that. And then, to match, a Gelby double point needle holder. So like you put your, this is a straw, but it would be your double points. I know. Oh, also in the goodie bag is something that I had out because I've been using it, is a gauge ruler. Also from Tangerine Designs. So these are all my little goodies. The only big goodie that I'm going to show you this week, because I'm going to do fiber one week, and then I'm going to do yarn one week. But I am going to show you this fiber this week, which is, I know, pinks and green and white. English Garden Highland Handmaids. The tag's in this bag somewhere. This is just a bag I stuck it in. But that is what is in. Yeah. Because I had to put it on my wheel immediately. And I'm in love with it. It is coming out so thin. Some of the thinnest I have ever spun. Let me kind of wind it off a little bit to show you. I'm in love. I am in love. I cannot wait. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I'm thinking what I'm going to do with it is wind it off of the wind it all into the same bobbin, wind it off of the bobbin into a center pull ball, and ply from the outside and inside of the ball, and make it a 2-ply. That's what I'm thinking I'm going to do with it. We also had a tasting room at SSK where I got to play with some amazing spinning wheels and fall head over heels in love with the Hanson e-spinner, to the point that now I'm seriously like, ooh, if I could get rid of my Ladybug in order to get a Hanson, I might. I was that in love with it. And Emily, Ooh Fancy Pants, was hardcore enabling me. But I've resisted so far. But I do love my Ladybug, but I cannot justify at this point in time having a Ladybug and an e-spinner. What if I had a Ladybug or an e-spinner? But in the tasting room, we also got to play with fiber from Gail's Art. Thank you so much for that donation. And one of the things we got to play with was making bats. And so I did. And you'll see a picture at the end of the bat itself. But I spun it into this gorgeous chain ply. It's like 70 to 80 yards of my typical sport heavy fingering weight yarn that I've been producing a lot of lately. It's got some silk in it. That's kind of a turquoise silk. It's got some purples and pinks. And thank you, Laura, for helping me bat that up. So, I love it. I literally came home and spun it that night from SSK. In love with it. Lastly, let me talk about the 2 awesome classes that I took. the first class I took was the Baby Cardi class. And I took my Itty Bitty Toys book. And I got Susan to sign it. She is one of the sweetest, most generous, lovely, fun people to talk to. That class, I consider myself a good teacher. Susan has nothing, I can't even compare myself to her. Her teaching style was spectacular. I would take a class with her on how to sit and watch grass. Great. Amazing teacher. The amount of information she gave us. She taught us how to make a baby cardigan, but she gave us enough information that I truthfully now feel like if somebody wanted a cardigan, just some random human out there said, I want a cardigan, I could say, okay, do you want pockets or not? Do you want a hood or not? Do you want it long sleeve or short sleeve? Do you want ribbing or not? I literally could customize and create whatever they wanted. That's how good it is. Amazing. Then the next morning, I got to take the amazing Gail Zucker class, who is also just a wonderful human being. And I heard that about every single one of the teachers, not just the two that I took, but like just sitting around visiting, you heard that about every single teacher. And Gail Zucker she was just an amazing human being, so sweet to me, very generous with her time as well, showed us some things that I thought were great. And I heard somebody say what was so good about the class was that it was not jargony. And that is very true. You got a lot of very technical information in a way that anybody who had only used a point-and-shoot camera before could understand. And seeing some of her photographs, oh my gosh. If you didn't like photography before and you took her class, it makes you want to just go shoot stuff, just because it's awesome. It was great. Great. And so, yeah, those were the classes. Now, I have saved one of what I think is the best for last. One of the awesome people that I got to hang out with was Daisy. Well, Jennifer of Daisy Knits. And this is called Songbird. And it does have sparkle in it. And it is this gorgeous yellow color. And it's for you. She gave it to me to give to you. And I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait to give it away. I want to get it in your hands now. And so Luelle and I brainstormed on the way home. And this is totally her idea, but I thought it was great. So this is what we're doing. There are people recapping from retreats all summer. Right? We had Stockinette Zombies, and we had tons of recaps from it. We had SSK, and tons of recaps from it. There have been Knittin' in the Mitten. I can't even think of all of the ones that have been. Tons of retreats lately. Lots of people doing recaps on them. So I thought, well, Lowell thought, I want you to tell me your favorite retreat story. It can be a story you heard from somebody on a podcast. It can be a story of yours that you were there at a retreat. But I want some really awesome, funny, heartwarming, whatever, your favorite retreat story. And so I'm going to leave it up for 2 weeks on the blog, or on the Rav group, and then do a random generator of the awesome retreat stories and give away some Daisy Knits. I may have also ordered a sweater's worth of yarn from her. I'm just saying. And there were so many people that I met and talked to that I spent even a lot of time with and had some great time talking to and talking with and talking about yarn. But I don't want to start trying to name people, because if I do, I will forget somebody and then feel horrible that I forgot somebody. So if I didn't mention you, no, it's because I love you and don't want to forget that, and not have you on my list. So lots of awesome. And this is almost an hour, because that's what happens when you don't record in 3 weeks. So I will see you next week. And I think next week's going to be yarn. I'm going to show you all my yarny goodness from SSK Market and tell you any other stories that I may have forgotten this week. I hope you have a fabulous week, and I hope you enjoy the tutorials. Bye.
So here I am heading to SSK, and this is the Lasky building where we checked in. This is the craziness after check-in when we were doing the opening ceremonies. Lovely Leslie and Laura getting ready to tell us. One of the games we played was bingo, so here's my bingo card. The amazing Susan B. Anderson holding my baby Cardi. Such a fangirl moment for me right there. And then another gorgeous baby Cardi, this one by the lovely Jeanette. And then some awesome, gorgeous people that I met while there that I just love and adore and had an absolute blast with. I cannot tell you how much fun I had with all of these wonderful people. This is Malia, rhymes with Maria, showing us her, I always want to say chakra because it comes from the same root. More lovely, lovely people, Mary Gail and Rista. And then there's Ashley. Next, I have some pictures from the photography class of us taking pictures on a clothesline, because hanging things on a clothesline provides movement, one of the many things that we learned from the wonderful Gail Zucker. And then here are a few of the pictures I took in class. I love that picture. Here's the yarn I was telling you about earlier. The gorgeous yarn by Lollipop Yarns. It's Joan. Surprised it got home. Gorgeous picture of Beck. She is just, that's Laura's sister. And that's the shawl I made out of my hand spun. The bat I was telling you about earlier then exhausted me at the end of the trip.